My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of The Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke about why developing inner core strength and refusing to take shortcuts matters so much. We discuss steadiness, balance, and resilience, and how these come about through hard work and practice, exercising the spiritual and emotional muscles needed to thrive. It's tempting to take shortcuts, but stepping out of our comfort zone, we see that strength and learning is all formed through pain and screw-ups, joy and success, suffering and challenge. These are all of life for all of us. Our job is to embrace it all, and we get to do this roller coaster life with one another. What a gift that is. Steve, it's lovely to see you again.
Yeah, and you, Jill. It's truly wonderful. I haven't seen you for ages, actually.
I know. Been busy, haven't we?
We've been busy here, there, everywhere.
Absolutely.
But anyway, it's lovely to be here.
So, question for you, Steve. Yeah. How many sit-ups or push-ups do you do every day?
You see, when somebody asks you a question like that, you know they're boasting about something. What you want me to ask you is how many sit-ups you do a day.
So I do 60 a day.
60?
Yeah.
Well, every day?
Every day.
Every single day?
Every single day.
Don't you keep a Sabbath?
No, I think I'm probably meant to have a rest. But how many do you do?
Oh, I don't do exercise every day.
You don't?
No.
What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? No, actually, I do this little, well, for most of my life, since I was 30-something, I've gone running 3 times a week. If I go running 3 times a week, I think it's a fantastic
happy man,
week.
Aren't you?
2 times a week's okay. Once a week's all right. Every now and then, it's none a week because, there's too much to do or whatever. So I do short runs in the mornings in the week, and then a longer run, like 3 miles, half an hour it takes in the mornings, or a big long run at the weekend. But I do less of that now because I realise that the trouble
with getting old.
No, the trouble with running. Well, I love running, and you don't want your knees to cave in. How did we get from your sit-ups to this?
I have no idea. You've taken us there.
All right, your knees to cave in. So I do go running, but I do.
You do a workout, don't you?
Yeah, I do a workout on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays with my mate, Mr. Motivator, and from GMTV days. In actual fact, it just used to be me and him doing it. Just, we just do this together online. He lives in Manchester, I live in London, and we, 6:30 in the mornings, we'd have a chat and do this thing. And then we started inviting other people. It's now
some ringers coming.
Well, he told me recently that 100,000 people have been on this thing because you can do it in all sorts of. So it's grown into a whole thing for him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is wonderful. But so I do some press ups and some squats and. All of that. But I don't do numbers. I do do this for 45 seconds, then that for 45 seconds. And I do a few weights and things, but it hasn't had any impact, has it? Look at me. A total waste of time. But it does keep you, it keeps you, you can
moving.
move. Yeah.
Flexible.
I'm going to be 70.
I know. We'll do a special podcast all about you.
But when you're going to be, just try and keep yourself together for a few more months.
But the thing was that I do 60 now, but I was only managing. I was only managing 10.
That seems quite normal to me. 60.
Well,
do you do those without stopping?
No, I do 30 and 30. So.
But 30 is still alarming.
It's still alarming. It's cool. But the reason I'm doing it is because it's about core strength.
Ah, yes. That is the reason I don't run so much, actually, because running is really good for your legs and your heart and your lungs, but not for your core strength.
Absolutely. And the whole, so core strength matters, doesn't it?
It matters a lot, Jill. It really does matter a lot.
In a straight line.
Exactly. And if I might, can I be serious for a moment? I know it's very serious. You do 30. Are you on a kind of upward incline on it? Because you said you do 10 and now you do 2 lots of 30. Are you aiming to do, by this time next year, 500 or something?
Given that we're sat with our wonderful producer, Peter, who does 200 a day, what can we...
You see,
anyway,
see everybody listening, I'm surrounded by fitness fanatics here.
It's not a competition. Core strength.
Core strength. I was going to say, actually, over the years, as you know, I've been a church leader since my mid-20s, actually, different churches. And I have to say that I've come to, a lot of the work you do is pastoral, visiting people in hospital after they've had accidents. A real problem for people as they get older, past 50 and 60 and 70, etc., is that if you've not got core strength and you break an ankle or a hip or whatever, which happens often, incredibly, because you've not got core strength, you might then that is really hard to recover from. Yeah. Really hard to recover from. So the moral of this very short podcast is do your sit-ups.
So core strength matters.
Core strength really matters.
Yeah.
Matters more than muscles.
Absolutely. And it gives us stability, gives us balance.
Yeah.
Gives us the ability to be resilient. It's a shock absorber, all of that kind of stuff. And I've been thinking about it because I do these 60 sit-ups every day. Somehow we need to develop that kind of core strength for life generally as well, don't we? And I've just been thinking quite a bit lately and reflecting how I feel like we're in an era where it's actually really easy to take shortcuts rather than to develop core strength,
Indeed. And even take shortcuts to getting physically fit. Yes. There are all those things they advertise where you can sit watching the television. Have you seen them? Those belts and things. And they kind of they vibrate you and they tone you whilst you're watching EastEnders or something. It's ridiculous. And that's a shortcut again, isn't there? Tragically, there's no shortcut to physical health. But I agree with you. Physical health, emotional health, social health, spiritual health. These are all things that you have to work at. They're not easy. So it's easy not to do your 30, 60 sit-ups, isn't it?
It's really easy.
I did a workout this morning, actually, 6:30.
So
for half an hour, and I got up and I was feeling tired. And the last thing you want in the world is to do something physical. So there's a pain barrier, isn't there?
Yeah.
And there's more than the pain barrier, it's just the incentive barrier. It's so hard to motivate yourself. But in all the years I've been going running or whatever, there've been loads of times when I've felt, it's raining, I don't want to go out, I feel too tired, not done it and regretted it. But there's never been once when I've done it and regretted doing it afterwards. Yeah. So, but I think socially and emotionally and spiritually, being an all-rounder, kind of being in the right shape is just as difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be lazy. I find it so.
It's easy to be lazy, and it's really easy. With the temptation in life is to go around things rather than through things, isn't it? And so how do we... What are some of the things that we can do, Steve, where we are intentional about building our inner core strength? I don't mean physically. I don't mean everybody needs to go off and practice doing sit-ups or anything. I mean just that sense of resilience. Because given that when we do talk about it physically, we say it's our core strength that helps us find our way. It's our core strength that gives us physical balance. It's our core strength that gives us resilience. Then surely there's it's just a metaphor for our own well-being and our own kind of inner narrative that we have, a spiritual narrative perhaps, where we're practicing a way of being human, which is rather than taking shortcuts, rather than going around things, we understand that as we move through things, we are building that ability.
Yeah, and it's probably easier to understand, the spiritual thing in terms of social and emotional health and core strength, as you put it as well. So, people often say to me that I'm a real extrovert. Well, actually, when I walk into a room that's crowded with people, there's a real introvert in me. There really, truly is, and it's kind of tough to wander across and get into a conversation. Sometimes very hard to as well, I find. But if you recline into a corner, you leave early and I'm just talking about myself, not anyone else, feel like, empty from that. Whereas if I push myself to begin a conversation or to make another phone call or to send somebody a text message and thank them for something, that's a hard thing to do. It's easier not to send the message. It's easier not to make the phone call. It's easier not to cross the room. It's easier not to start the conversation. It's easier not to think about, what am I going to say to encourage this person. It's easier not to do all those things. But when you do them, not only do you bring support to someone else, but you grow yourself, don't you? You grow yourself. We are the outcome of all the thousands of small decisions we take. Yeah. Small decisions to get up in the morning and do a sit-up. Small decisions to cross the room and have a conversation. Yeah. Small decisions to stop, to read, to reflect, to ponder on life and who you are, the spiritual side. Yeah. All of those things, they sit with one another in a way. They're all about, the way I see it, the same approach to life, spilling out in slightly different dimensions.
I was talking to a friend of ours, someone we both work with, Jane, the other day, because we were working together on something, and she was talking about that there's like this, the last 10% thing where people are people won't cross the last 10%, which is what gets you to flex the muscle properly, which is what gets you to
stretches you.
Yeah, that stretches you. And that's the thing that holds so many of us back is when we don't cross that final part of the difficult, necessary conversation, or crossing the room, or waking up early, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Or how do you get from your, did you say 10 sit-ups a day to 60? Yeah. So you've got to push yourself. First of all, I should imagine it's pushing yourself quite hard to do 10. Yeah. Completely knackering, and then I'm going to do 11. Yeah, I'm going to do 12. Yeah. So it is that last push, isn't it? It's to quote my good friend, Mr. Motivator, Derek. He always says, "Movement is medicine," and I think that applies. I've often thought that applies physically and spiritually. You've got to move forward. Push yourself.
It applies in leadership, doesn't it?
It applies at every level of life. It's the movement. It's the forward trajectory. It's the stepping beyond your comfort zone. It's the putting yourself out there. That is the medicine all the time that creates the result. And I know how hard that is to hear if you feel impotent, disempowered, if you feel empty, if you feel imprisoned and you feel like you can't move forward and you can't push yourself. So I'm not claiming any of this is easy, but I do know this as well, to begin talking about these things at whatever level, whether it's physical movement or spiritual direction, to begin talking about them
is the start.
Yeah. Rob, to someone you trust.
Yeah, our friend Rob Bell, he just says, just do the next first thing.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Just do the next first thing.
Yeah.
The next one step that's going to take you in that direction of.
I think that because I'm a Christian, the kind of church I was brought up in. I know, there are many forms of spirituality. Spirituality is the reflecting on inner meaning and purpose, isn't it? And it's reflecting on what's beyond yourself and a meaning and purpose that's bigger than you. But anyway, I grew up, as a teenager in a church when I was taught that if I was ever going to get spiritually fit, I needed to read the Bible every day.
Every day.
Yeah. And I needed to have what they called a quiet time, pray every day. Yeah. And the thing is, I always found it downright impossible. Like, I tried praying in the morning and I just couldn't wake up, and I'm going to pray for all these people and all these things. And 30 seconds later, you're thinking about the football game that you watched the day before or something. And then pray at night and just fall asleep, and read the Bible and completely lose concentration. You know how you can end up reading a book and you're not actually reading it. And I learned that there are no rules about any of this stuff. It's just that hunger for these things. And just like when you do physical exercise, you probably think, if only I could do 40 instead of 30.
Yeah.
There's always that sense of achievement and the sense of, I'm not quite there. Yeah. And it's that forward thing that pushes you on. So I've lived my whole life like that, feeling like that spiritually, actually.
Yeah.
If only I could get my act together more. Yeah. But I can't. But I am trying.
But there's our brains are really powerful in all of this, aren't they? And just leveraging the old dopamine hit of, actually, this is. It may not feel like it in the immediate, but this is going to make me feel better. Yeah. This is going to help. This, however challenging this is. Yeah. This is going to work.
Hence me talking about going for a run. Yeah. It never feels a very enticing idea before you start. Well, perhaps once in a blue moon on a very sunny day, but you never finish a run without thinking, wow. Yeah. And that's to do with the dopamine. That's to do with your body waking up. Yeah. All of these disciplines help us rather than hinder us. Yeah. As long as we don't treat them like an assault course that we have to always do.
You're in trouble if you don't. Yeah. And so, question, in all your years of, life, Steve, you've got a lot of wisdom on all this stuff. Where in your head, when you're like, I need to cross into that next 10%, and the temptation to take the shortcut is there, what stops you taking the shortcut?
Well, the problem with that question is the assumption that sometimes I don't take the shortcut or just stop altogether. Don't even be bothered with the shortcut. It's kind of like, and there are times when we all do that, aren't there? When we know that.
Because that's when we slip from our why, isn't it? That's when we stop centering around our purpose.
And in what you've just said is the answer. It's your why. It's what you're about. So the funny thing is, just going back to being physically fit, again, I don't claim to be particularly physically fit, but I do know this. I did know this from the beginning of Oasis. I knew that I walk into a room and, and I still have, my role in Oasis is still this, isn't it? I walk into a room and it's to win a partnership or some business, to say to people, you can trust us with this money or this opportunity or these buildings or whatever. And I always think, if I wander in a room and I look like, I've been dragged through a hedge backwards and I can't even discipline myself, then why should they trust me with anything else? So I've always been aware that trying to be as physically fit as possible and as mentally fit and as spiritually fit and aware. So I'm not on some ego trip, which I probably am half the time, but I work at, I think to myself, what's my role in life? My role is to create the environment where other people can thrive.
Yeah.
That's what my role in Oasis and in the world is about, to create the environment where other people can thrive. Sometimes I probably fail at that, and too much of me gets in the way. But that's a spiritual discipline as much as a physical discipline is a physical discipline. And you're doing all of these things, I think, because my why is to make the most impact in my life as I possibly can for the good of other people, which sounds all very moralistic and all the rest of it. And I don't mean it like that, because I'm mostly a complete screw up. But at least that, that is where I'm headed. So physical fitness and emotional fitness or health and spiritual fitness and social fitness has all become important elements of that.
Do you ever feel like you are weak with that core strength? Do you ever feel?
Yeah, I feel weakness? That. I feel that all the time. I'm amazed. This happens all the time. I'm trying to think of an example in this last week, which I can't, but there have been examples in this last week. People say to me, Steve, will you come and speak at this? Because, you bring such wisdom. And I kind of think, are you bonkers? Have you actually heard me whittering on? I cannot work out what people are on about half the time. I really can't. I'm not, it flabbergasts me.
Where do you go in that, in your thinking, in your head, in that feeling of weakness?
Well, I sense what I do, it's counterbalanced by, I think to myself, if I can bring something that other people, for some unknown reason, think is of some value, well, then what right have I got to deny it? I'm just going to launch a mentoring course. I've just written a letter out yesterday morning for people, and I just say, I've started by saying, surprisingly, people keep asking me to mentor them. I mean, it's totally surprising to me, and I can't do it. I can't fit any more in, but I never want to say no. So I'm going to set up this thing. I'm going to invite a group of people to come and sit with me. But the strange thing is, in that, I feel like I will gain much more than I give, because that's the social interaction and the social fitness as well. I'm making a right old mess of all this that I'm saying to you. Does it make any sense to you at all, Jill?
Yeah. But I think that's like your story, all of our stories, that development of that core strength comes through every one of those experiences, doesn't it? It comes through all the incremental, the daily sit-ups.
Yeah, and it comes through pain. I think that's the thing I'd say. You learn, in my life, insofar as I've learned anything, I've learned more through my screw-ups, my failures, my mess-ups, through the pain and the struggle of that, than anything else. Cornelia, who I always mention, my wife, we've been married a frigging long time now, to each other. And a marriage is a happy and a painful thing, and I'm really fortunate to be married to Cornelia, because I think, our marriage is really good, except when it's really bad. I think she's really joyous, except when I want to murder her, and vice versa. Absolutely. But in actual fact, the strength in why am I saying this? The strength in our relationship has been formed through the pain of journeying there together.
Yeah.
Does that, and not giving up in it.
And I think, Steve, what we're trying to describe is that inner work creates like a sacred resistance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To that being pulled off course and losing your way. It doesn't mean that we don't or anything like that, but I think it's the idea of sacred resistance.
Yeah. And even in talking about my marriage like that and saying through the pain, you find joy and all the rest of it, I'm really aware that might sound like I'm some kind of moral hero because, we made our marriage work. And I know that some marriages need to be left, They really do need to be left. And I don't want to lock anyone into a prison of abuse in any way through suggesting that you stick with something. And all of these painful experiences in life, there's nothing good within them in and of themselves. Yet in an extraordinary way, through the pain, we find depth. And then that depth, what is in you, comes out of you, doesn't it? Yeah. There's this fantastic old story. I think it's a Chinese parable. Do you know this story about the farmer and his son who have a horse? Do you know? Have you heard this? I may have heard it. The farmer and his son. Years since I heard it. The farmer and his son have a horse, and they're reliant on the horse to plough their fields. And then one day the horse runs away. And their friends come round to their home to drink tea with them at night, and they say, "It's terrible that your horse has run away. It's devastating. What bad luck." And the farmer, the old farmer, says, "Maybe." Well, the next morning, his horse turns up again, but is grouped with a small flock or whatever of wild horses. This flock's not the right word, is it?
Group.
Yeah. Okay. And these 4 wild horses have come back to the farm, and so now the farmer has 5 horses when last night he had none. Yeah. And that evening his friends come round and drink tea with him and they say, "Well, that's wonderful. You're really lucky. What good news." And he says, "Maybe." Yeah. Well, the next morning, because they've got 4 wild horses, his son, who's an adult who works with him, says, "Well, we better break one of these in. We better break them in." So he climbs on a horse to break it in. So they've got 2 horses they can plough with. Climbs on the horse to break it in, and he falls off and he breaks his leg. And that night, the farmer's friends come round and go, "Oh, that's awfully bad luck, isn't it? Oh dear, such bad news." And he says, "Maybe."
Yeah.
The next morning, some Chinese government workers arrive, and they're forcing all the young people under 25 in the town into the army. But his son's got a broken leg and he can't go. And that night, his friends come round and they drink tea and they say, "Wow, that was good news. That was very lucky." And he says, "Maybe." And he's learned, I think, I like that story. I told it badly, didn't I? But I like that story because it reminds me, I think about this often, there's moments of joy and there's moments of suffering.
Yeah.
But they're all a continuum. And if I'm in a moment of joy and celebration, celebrate and know joy. But I know that there will be a moment of suffering and struggle that comes. And I know the moment of suffering and struggle, which is coming, though I don't know when it will arrive and what it is, I'm going to learn as much through that. And I should be strangely as joyous through that as I am in the moment of upness and celebration. Yeah. All of life is one continuum. And when you see another person, you might see them in a moment of pain, or you might see them in a moment of joy. And if you see them in a moment of pain, it's easy to try to help them from your position of power or something. But you should know that we're all in that same continuum, and life throws all these things at us. And that journey is the sacred journey, the whole of it, not just bits of it.
And I would say, just to finish, Steve, that the thing that I love is that we don't have to do that journey alone, but that God, the divine, universal love, journeys with us as a helper. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Jill. Keep doing those sit-ups.